What's going on, world? Coming at you guys again. We got another quick video. The return of God. Let's talk about it. So it's 2026. Currently, we have a lot of military tension and action that's happening with the unfortunate devastation and loss of life throughout the world and a plethora of geographical locations. Now, as it stands right now, there is an understanding that based off of where we are in our historical application presently, a lot of different religions are waiting on the Antichrist or the Messiah or Jesus' second return to come back, right? Here's the thing. It's not actually necessary. One thing that I really need to get you to understand, and I'm speaking to everybody in the world, although we are all created equally, because we are all human beings and we have the capacity to procreate with one another, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, in which gives us different capacities in how we can integrate ourselves into a cohesive environment and society. There is no necessity to have individuals at the top and individuals at the bottom. The only real necessity is based off of the allocated DNA in which God has given you in order to fulfill your capacity as the perfect being in which you are. We have to stop looking at the world in a spectrum in which one is greater than the other. We all have differences. We all cannot be professional football players or basketball players or bankers or surgeons or doctors or lawyers. Because if everybody on every facet of the race or cultural spectrum would try to utilize the consensus that I'm a human being and I can do anything that you can do, like the old saying is, anything you can do, I can do better. Well, technically that's not true. Certain people have a certain adaptation in which gives them a form of higher evolution to be as successful as possible within a certain category. That's just the reality of the situation. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. When we look at the world in today's day and time, we're looking at 2026. And when you look at the conspiracies of how things used to be in comparison to where they are, when you look at the actions of individuals whom have had the ability to find themselves in a position to where they are maintaining superiority, you have to acknowledge it for what it is. But that doesn't mean that they are superior in all other forms and factions. This is the truth. You know, it's time that we actually start putting everybody's capacity to contribute at face value and give people the opportunity to be the best that they can be within the spectrums of what they believe is appropriate. You know, we all know that right now, the people who rule the world primarily, right, have primarily been Caucasian people. They have been the most successful people to do it through war and conquering and these measures. They are warriors. This is the reality. Unfortunately, they haven't the capacity to maintain a society in which continues their economical stability. This is why they've enlisted the help of what we know to be the house of the Jewish families. These are the individuals whom are responsible specifically for the economical stability to ensure the safety and prosperity and financial capacity of countries as well as economies. When we look at entertainment, the primary majority of entertainment, whether it's through physical or non-physical measures, have primarily been a mixture in between people of African American, which I believe are indigenous. They are not African, right? I believe the majority of individuals are African American or indigenous, and they are not African per se, right? Not primarily. I think that is a application of identity and done so purposefully, because individuals whom are African American is technically not a race, so they don't have the capacity to declare and um, demand for reparations. And again, that's what it's done purposely. You know, this is the way that oppression and suppression has been done since the early 1500s, what I talked about before with the Moorish Empire and how black people were already here in America. And the fact of the matter that when you go look at around the world, black people are primarily the only people on the entire planet that practice integration. They don't matter. It does not matter your race, color, creed, or culture. Black Americans will accept you for who you are. Their women will integrate and procreate with men. Their men will integrate and procreate with women, regardless of your background and how it contrasts to their own. 95% of the rest of the population around the world have a very difficult time with accepting new assimilation and integration for other forms of race, color, creed, culture, and religion. It is primarily just them and them alone. They primarily practice the application of isolation as well as preservation and superiority. Now, that's what it is. But we have to understand and recognize that in order to prepare for God to return back to walk amongst his creations, because we are all created from God, we all have the capacity to procreate with one another. Even though we may choose not to do it, it does not negate the fact that we all have the capacity to do so. And the primary reason why God has refused to come down here is because we are all of his children and we are divided. A house divided, a family divided, a people divided, a species divided. Nobody wants to go to a family reunion or Thanksgiving as a parent and watch all of your children fight and kill each other and argue. Nobody wants that. No parent would want that. You as a parent would not want that. So it's time to understand and recognize everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses. It's time to understand that everybody has the application to try to improve upon oneself, because through the power and process of integration and procreation, the assimilation as well as levitation of an individual has no limits, because we are pursuing the path back to divinity. Just as there are multiple spices, there are multiple foods, there are multiple herbs. It is all created equally with different principles and transient properties in which have different profiles in which can be utilized in a manner in which creates an entire dish. It is the same consideration of people, of human beings. We all have a role to play. It is time that we, as people, step to the table, lay down our arms, recognize the strengths and the weaknesses of each individual people, and acknowledge the fact that though individuals may have strengths, they also have weaknesses. And the weaknesses that they have, through humility, they have the capacity to make them into strengths by utilizing a form of assimilation, by adopting, adapting, or procreating with another being so that the child or the offspring can be better than them. And isn't that the entire point of having children? Is to ensure that the next generation is better than you. Let's bring God home.